Guys, Malkuths 1974 coming back at you with another tutorial. I have been asked to do this tutorial a couple times from a few people about how to build my quarry machine. If everything looks a little bit different right now, I always do my tutorials in default texture pack Minecraft for it doesn't confuse anybody. To be honest, I've already actually recorded this whole thing. I am just doing this introduction to tell you that I tried to explain this as best as I could. If it's not good, I apologize in advance. So, if you guys are wondering what the quarry machine is, that's the quarry. That's my finished product. And we will show you a quick way of how things work. I still haven't skinned everything yet. But this is my control room where I have everything set up. I got my drill head. So the drill head will go up and down and the whole system will move. I will show you the drill head going down. So we'll hit that and we'll see the drill head going down. I've already dug here. You can tell that it's dug all this already. So that part's done. To make the drill head come back up, you shut that off and you put the drill head, this one, which will bring the drill head up into the park position where I will be able to move this whole system. So it's going up. And how everything is, how it destroys the blocks in the ground is it uses block breakers. And the block breakers are powered through the whole system. And it comes up. I'll show you down here. You can see this in my Let's Play. I'll put a link to it where this was built. Comes up through the tubes here because Redpower 2 now has frame tubes. Goes into the chest, goes to my home base, and gets macerated and all that wonderful stuff that it does. So when I'm done actually with this part, like I've already mined out this part, I need to move this whole system to the next part. And how I did that is I have Caterpillar drive set up that can move this whole system north, south, east, and west. So I can go either this, any way, any direction. And eventually I'll have it set up where I can go up and down too with the whole system where I can get past the mountains and stuff. But for right now, we need to go west because this is actually pointing west. So I just hit this button and I'll show you guys. The whole thing is moving. This is done with Redpower 2 frame systems. And sometimes it gets a little bit delayed. It's not a big deal. I gotta set my a few things up different in here. I've just noticed going this way. So, and when it gets to the end, I can start drilling again. And I'll show you guys this. I've showed this so many times that it's not. Okay, so we're actually there. I'm going to go over one by accident. Alright. It's a little bit difficult for me to do it. Oh, actually, are we there? Was I right on? I was right on. Sweet. So, now I'm parked. And now I can start drilling. And as you can tell, it breaks everything. All the blocks go up into there, and we go downstairs. They go into here, into the chest, where they go to my home base and they get processed. So let's actually show you how to build this thing. How to build it is a little bit more complicated, but we'll get into it. Basically, we need Caterpillar drives to move this thing up and down, and then basically it's just a simple system of to make the arm go up and down. So let's go check it out. Hey guys, welcome back. If you notice things look a little bit different now, it's because I when I do tutorials I don't keep my texture pack for you guys can see the normal what these look like because a lot of people don't use texture packs. So what we're gonna need for this build is a frame engine, frames, a bat box for bluetricity, red alloy wire, and blue alloy wire. First thing I'm going to teach you about frame machines is how frames work. Now, when you have an engine or one of these frame engines, the only thing these work on are frames. You can't hook this to anything else in the world and expect it to move it. So I don't believe it will move it. I think it can only move frames. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it can only move frames. That's why you have to use frames. Frames themselves have special properties. Now, anything you stick to a frame like this that is a block will actually stick to the frame and move with it. So if this whole frame was to move right now, this would basically, this would move with it. Anything you want on a frame when you build a frame system like this has to be attached to the frame. So this is attached to this frame. If I went like this, all this is attached to the frames. But the minute I go like that, I add a second block on top of these blocks. This block is no longer attached to the frames, and what's going to happen is that once this whole system moves, this block is going to stay in place and everything else is going to move out. So this is why you build the Frame Quarry machine, or any machine that's built out of frames, with all of these frames. That's why they're not really that expensive to build. So wood and, you know, copper and tin to make the brass ingots, and then you're all set. So wires are a little bit special. Wires and other small peripherals, like I got red alloy wire right here, and I am clicking on this and I cannot lay the wire down. What we need for frames is two different kind of panels. The first is actually called just a regular panel. Now you get this with the red alloy, the Redpower saw, and when you cut a block it gives you a slab, and then when you cut the slab again it gives you a panel, and when you cut a panel it then gives you a cover. So both these work different with frames. Actually, I'll tell you right now. The cobblestone, the panel helps things like wires stick to frames, and the cover makes things that makes it for nothing sticks to the frame when it moves. And I'll show you what I mean by that right now. So if we want red alloy wire on our frame, again, I can't lay it down on a frame because it won't lay down. It's not a block, it's a special item. It's got special properties. So to actually make the red alloy wire stick to the frame while it's moving, you need panels. And the way you can tell the difference between a panel and a cobblestone and a cover, and you can make these any way, you can make them at any block, is that the panel has these little corner notches in it, and the cover is a full squared without the notches. So if I laid this down right now, and we'll do this test later, we'll come back to this test, this wire will stay because it's attached to the panel. I can still attach red wire to this, but the problem is that once this whole system moves, these will stay in place. Actually, they'll just pop off and they'll become they'll be just like that. So when you're building your frame machine, you want the outsides of your frame machine to be in covers, because when it goes into the ground or it touches anything on the outside, it will not stick to that. So that's why in my game I skinned everything in covers, because I didn't want it to stick. So now that we get to the engines, how do we move this system? Well, when we looked at my quarry machine, we saw that I had 4 separate caterpillar drives, each moving it in a different direction. I call it, you know, north, east, south, and west. To get started, let's get this show on the road. You need a frame. It's pretty simple. And then you need an engine there and an engine there. This is a basic caterpillar drive. So what's going to happen here? What we want to do is I want to move this way. Actually, I don't want to do east right now. Let's make it move this way. So you need a screwdriver. This is a Redpower screwdriver. And we want this arrow we see right here to face that way. And it's really easy right now because this is set up correctly. So I just clicked it once, just with a right click mouse button. Now it's facing that way. Now we want, actually, yeah, this is how we want to go. We want this one to face the same direction, but on this one we need the arrow to be up here touching this frame. So if I should have went over this. These little lines you see right here are the little engines that move things. So this is what you want to look for. You got that, and then you got the sides like this. These right here show you the direction that the arrows are pointing. So it gives you like a little visual clue. And it's a little bit harder to see in this version of the Minecraft, the regular Minecraft, but you'll see this little, kind of looks like a half a peace sign or something, or a cross out sign. This thing is facing the opposite direction of the arrow. That means the arrow is facing this way. So if we want to change the direction of this engine, you just have to click it, but you have to hold the sneak key or the shift key to actually make the whole thing move. So when you go like this, it moves the direction of the engine this way, but when you hold shift, it moves the whole engine to a different side. So you keep doing that, you see how it keeps moving. It should be over here, yep, and this one should be the top. It'll look just like that. And now we see the arrow. This right here is facing the same direction as this. So that's telling me that the arrow is going that way. And if we go to look at the top, we kind of look through it. Actually, it's the wrong. Sorry. You know what? It's the opposite in the texture pack that I'm playing. So I'm going to have to teach you guys that. Okay, now it's going the right way. Like I said, we want it to face the right way. See, the arrow is now facing that way. It's the opposite. We won't even get into that. Alright. So now that I got the arrow facing the correct way, I don't know if that's a visual bug or not, but in my texture pack, I'm not going to confuse you guys, but in my texture pack, the arrow, this would be facing that way. But it seems to be the opposite with the regular texture pack. But anyway, to double check to make sure it's facing the right way, you can just go up top and take a look, and you can see, yep, it's definitely facing that way. Now, we need to lay down some panels, because we need to put our wires in. Now, the panels, what we want to do is I want to connect this engine and this engine with red alloy wire, and I also need to connect it to power, which will be the blue, the battery box. So, the way I got this to work in my game is that I'm going to show you both ways. Is that crap. I put the panels around it like that, and then I also did it on this side because I'm going to need the wires to go this way, and I put the battery box right there. So the quick way to hook this up is to go. Alright, now this is good that I saw this. This is a bug in the game. If you can't place anything here, destroy the whole thing, relay down the frame. It happens when you try to lay a panel down, sometimes it bugs out, and then I should be able to relay it. Now, we're going to need a redstone repeater right here, and I'll show you why, and I'll have my test thingamajiggy here to test how it works right there. Alright, we're going to keep moving. So you need the blue alloy wire to hook these two engines up, and then you need a battery box. I have mine up here just for the test, but I'll show you over here where it is. So the blue lights mean that they're charged and they got power. If you didn't have the blue light would actually, I don't think it's going to go out because it's charged now, but if these little blue lights aren't on, that means it has no power. So we need a repeater right here, and we need a lever right here. Now basically this whole engine is done, which other than one part. The one important part which will mess everybody up because it messed me up, even messed Direwolf up. You need a cobblestone cover right here, in between the little notch here, and I'm going to show you, because what's going to happen is, now that this engine's hooked up, actually this is backwards, now that the engine's hooked up, this engine is going to move over here, and then this engine's going to move this engine back. It's a basic Caterpillar drive. So it goes just like this. And when this moves this way, it moves the whole frame that way. That's why there's nothing under this frame. This is, I know, it's, just trust me, that's how it works. So it's going to keep going like this every time it gets power. And then this is going to move it back and forth, and that's why it moves that way. To power this, what the repeater does, sorry I had that wrong before, but what the repeater does is that we need a delay from when this gets power to when this gets power. Or what's going to happen is that if these get power at the same time, this is going to move over here and it's going to stop here because this one has already been powered. So they're going to move at the same time, which is not what we want. What we want is this one to move first, and it gets here, and then the repeater powers this one, which will move this engine back. I mean, you're gonna have to experiment with this. I know this is not the easiest thing to do, but you're gonna have to experiment to understand how everything works on this. So everything's hooked up. I got my red. Make sure you got your red. We'll find out in a second here. Usually I always have these backwards. I think that's right. Let's see. So. Alright, now I'm going to show you what just happened right there. And that's because I'm using a lever. And, okay, so basically we just saw how the whole engine moved. We'll do it again. And I shut it off. And we'll do it again. And I'll shut it off. As we see, we got 2 redstone wires over there. Let's go look at the top. See, remember over here how we put just regular covers here? Well, our redstone wire fell off. So this is basically how a Caterpillar engine works. You can actually reverse all these. You can have the wires inside here. I'll show you. I only wire it that way because my whole rig is wired for I can go outside the wall and go up to the control tower. If I had the red wires in here, which is fine, you can do it this way too. This is how Direwolf did his. And then you just hook that up to that. It's the same thing. I got everything powered. Just thing you got to remember is that this one needs to be powered first. You can do that with a lever. And this one needs the repeater. And to remove the repeater, all you need is your screwdriver. And just hit it. Make sure. And then without the screwdriver, you need to set it to... I usually set it twice. It's usually enough. Let's see if that'll work. Alright, so what happened here is that the repeater is not the right way. So I had to flip it that way. So it should correct itself. There we go. And the whole engine is moving. That's basically how it works. I just made these up. It works better this way because if you notice that when I had it the other way, I had to shut it off. I haven't figured out why it does that, but what will happen is that the drive will go and then it'll hit again and it'll get stuck here. It'll correct itself because we're using a lever and the lever is always powered, so I'll show you over here. So basically that's how you move something. So now that I know how everything works, let's go over here. This is how I have my... This is a 9x9 frame. It's a little bit different because I needed the power to keep this thing going. But this is how I have it set up in my game world. I have 2 different configurations set up for you to show you guys how to work. All you got to do is you set up your first one, which this one is facing this way, which is east. And I got this one, which is facing west. exact opposites. Same thing if I had it going north, it would be, you know, just make the arrows face the correct way. So this whole thing moves, and we see that I have that little bug where, because I'm using a lever, that it messes up. And on this build I showed you, this is how I have it in my game, for I can actually run the wire up the walls. What I did over here is that I reversed everything like I did over there. I just had, this is how Direwolf built his. You got your battery box here, and you have your wiring like this on the outside, and then you have your red alloy wire, and I put a wireless remote, a wireless receiver right here, and I set it to 1. Then you grab your wireless remote. If you guys are wondering how to use the wireless remote to change the settings, you just put yourself in it, because if you go like, oops, that'll move it, sorry, but if you put sneak, push shift and sneak, you'll be able to actually go. Wireless remote hooked up, everything's set up, push the button and she moves. No complicated wiring, nothing. And you can set a frequency for every direction you move and you'll be all set. So that's how I got things to move. And you guys are going to have to mess with it a little bit. It doesn't always work the way you think it's going to work, and I can't show you everything because it's just difficult, because I ran into problems, and I think you need to run into problems to learn how it works, to understand. So I mean, this will get you guys off the road, get you in the right direction. If things aren't working, one of the things that happens with frames when you're trying to move it, if something isn't right, like something's holding the frame behind, you'll have to look to see where you messed up. I'm not even gonna get it. You guys are just gonna have to learn. There's just too many things that can go wrong. If it's not moving, either you don't have this right, where you have your cover in here for this engine can slide back. That's why that's there. Because if this wasn't here, the engine would get stuck there. It wouldn't be able to move back. I know it's weird how it moves, but it's just remember, that's one important thing. And make sure that you're using the panels for everything that's hooking with wires and stuff like that. So let's go on to how we make the drive, the actual thing to go up and down to do the quarrying. Alright, we are back. I basically put this together really quick to show you how you can do things a little bit different. I just want to show you how this works. Now this is what brings your arm up and down and stuff. So I'll show you right there. As we go, the arm goes down. It will eventually stop because it's going to hit the ground. So there. And then this brings it back up. And it's really, really simple. Actually, you can see how I actually brought up a piece of the ground on that one. Really, really simple how it works, okay? You have two engines again, because you go in two different directions. You need to go down, which this shows it going down, and then you go up, which this one's showing you going up. You need a block breaker, which breaks the block that's coming up. This block is down, so when this block comes up, the block breaker will break this on the next tick. Bang. It's gone. Travels through here and it gets reloaded back into the deployer. Now this is a deployer. What the deployer does, it deploys blocks. I have redstone tube frames in there because we need tube frames for our quarry stuff to come up through the tubes, and it needs to be redstone because it needs to be powered to power the block breakers that are on the bottom of the drill head. So what the deployer does is it deploys a block, and then at the same time this engine pushes that block down, and so on and so on. Let's set it back to time. And again, then it comes back up, and on the next tick it will destroy that. Bang. You can see it traveling up through. Bang. It's basically a renewable system. That way you don't have to have this huge arm that come up and down like you might have seen in some other things. And by the way, you can totally make an elevator this way too. So if you're wondering how to make an elevator. So that's how the arm works. How is it powered? I did a little bit different here because I just threw it together quickly. I'll show you guys again how it's done on my quarry machine because I had to make room for special add-ons in here. You'd basically put your chest right here with some tube stuff coming through here, which is basically tube frames. All the redstone tube is a pneumatic tube and redstone. You just put them together and it makes the redstone tube, and then you do the same thing. You combine in crafting wise the redstone tube and a support frame, and you'll get the tube frame, which will actually be redstone tube frame technically. So that's how that works. So how you power it is that you obviously need your engines to be hooked up to electricity. I kind of have this weird awkward thing I did here. And you need redstone alloy to actually activate these. And on this one, this is why I keep these together, because I don't have to use as much redstone wire, and it keeps it kind of neat. You want them to activate together, so it's going to make the engine go up, and then on the next hit it's going to basically take out the tubing. So you want these two together, and then on this one you want these two together. I got them hooked up just like that. So deployer and down, just like that. You can actually have this in many different configurations. You guys can experiment with this. You can have the deployer over here and the breaker up here. You could have both engines over here stacked and have it done that way. I mean, as long as you got one going down, one going up, a block breaker, and a deployer, and then the block breaker hooks into the deployer to basically give you back your redstone tubes, it will go up and down. Very simple system. I was debating to actually show this, but just so you guys know, that's how that works. Oh, and one last thing. If you have frames inside of here like this, make sure you put your cobblestone covers inside for your frames don't stick, like I have them down here too, in between here. For your frames don't stick inside of this little tube system here. Again, I suggest you guys experiment with ways you have this set up. Let's go look at the way I have it set up now. Alright, we're back in my frame machine. Wow, looks totally different when I don't have my texture pack on. Anyway, let's go downstairs and check this out. As we see here, this is the system I have set up. I kind of compacted a little bit. Didn't want too much stuff in here, but there's the deployer, there's the block breaker. I have it. You see how I put the wall, the ceiling up here. So this is redundant. It doesn't need to be. This could have actually been one solid wall. Like I said, everybody comes up with their own little design on how they want to do everything. Basically, it's almost the same design I just showed you. It's just I had to make room to power everything up. But as you know, I can't show you because I don't have it all hooked up. But that's basically what I have. And then the last thing you guys are going to want to do is when you set up your, make sure I have enough battery here. Yeah, okay. Your blocks, you set up your bottom just like that. You know, it's a 9 by, I have it by 9 by 9, and then you put your block breakers on it. And then on the top, let's show you guys everything again. 1, 2, that's good. Now on the top of this, I got my these are just regular, they're not panels, they're the covers. That way nothing sticks to any of my engines over here. And I have a world anchor there. And that's how everything moves. This is something I'm experimenting with later. I'm not going to get into this because it's not a proven thing yet. I'm working on ways of making things work with computer craft, and for computer craft can know when the arm is up for it can move. Stuff like that. We won't even get into that. That's a whole nother episode. Watch my you can watch my Let's Plays when I actually built this thing, and you'll see what went into it to build it and how it works. So I'm going to call it on this. This video is way too long. I'm sorry if I don't explain everything well enough, but to be honest with you, you guys are going to have to experiment. I showed you the way to get there. If you look at how I have everything set up, this is how you get it to move. And remember, if when this thing moves, it has to move this way no matter what. So you always want it to move that way. The reason this one looks reversed is because it's just the way it is. Even these can be configured different. I mean, it's just as long as you get it to work, everything will be fine. I'm out of here. Hopefully this is good enough for you guys. If not, I apologize. But anyway, see you later.